Now I've cut out the amount of fusible interfacing I'll be placing in between the wording and the canvas. So the length is about 5 inches. You can see what I'm having here. So it's going to fall in between the canvas and the wording. So guys, now I have the fusible interfacing fused together with the canvas and the wording as well. So now I'll be applying stitches all around the wording. This has to be done by hand, that is hand stitches for bespoke suit making. But for the sake of this tutorial, I will be doing this with sewing machine. So I'll be stitching along the marked side. You can see what I have. So after stitching, then I will leave like quarter to 0.375 distance, and I will stitch again. Then I will be repeating the same process until I exhaust all the space I have on my wording. You can see that. If you are applying and hand stitches, you'll be doing it the same way. So just have your marked. This can be a bar stitches or a cross stitches. So I will take this to my sewing machine. I will be sewing along the marked points. So now I will be stitching along the lines that I marked out. So guys, now I have all the 3 pieces stitched together: the wording, the fusible interfacing, and the canvas. So this is what I have after stitching. Then I run a zigzag stitches on the canvas area alone. As you can see, this is a lapel area. In case you don't have a zigzag stitches function on your sewing machine, you can actually do this by hand stitches. Okay, so this is what I have after stitching. So now I will be attaching this to the front bodice. Now I have this placed on the wrong side of my front panel, and this is what I have. As you can see, I have my seam allowance at the upper part of the shoulder line. I have it here as well. I have it by the side, and I have my center line, which is here. You can see what I have. So when you are stitching, make sure you did not start from the edges of your wording, so that if you have reason to trim off the edges in case it overlap the center line, so that you have the grace of trimming it off. Okay, so this is what I have. Then I will make sure I position it properly, then pin them together. So now I have it pinned. The next step is to place a dart on the padding, and I'll be making use of the dart point I have on the bodice already, which is here. So this is the center of the dart. Then from this point I will measure 0.25 on both sides, so which means my dart intake is ½ of an inch. Okay, then I will measure 3 inches upward. This is standard for the dart intake. Okay, so what I have there. Then I will be connecting the 2 points to the 3 inches points. So by the time I cut out the darts and pick the darts, the padding will not remain flat on the bodies. Okay, there's going to be a little bit of puff around here, which will bring out the shape of the chest area, so that the chest will not be permanently flat, and it will also help the look of the jacket on the wearer. So that is the importance of picking the dart, just as we picked that on the bodice as well. You can see after picking the dart, you can see this is no more on a perfect straight line. By the time we join the two pieces together, we're going to have a kind of puff around the chest area. So now I've constructed the dart and I will cut it out. So after cutting it out, then I have to close the dart. You can see the effect already. After closing it, you can see what I'm having. Then I will be cutting a piece of canvas in order to close the two sides together. So I will place this underneath. Then I will bring it together, then apply zigzag stitches. If you don't have that function on your sewing machine, you can as well apply a straight stitches, but make sure it falls on both sides and you run the stitches more than one time. So I will be taking this to my sewing machine in order to close the dart. So guys, now I've closed the dart, then I will be trimming off the excess canvas I have at the back. Okay, so the next step is to attach this to the bodies. So you have to pay a closer attention at this point. I hope you can see the effect of the dart I picked on the padding. You can see it is a little bit puffy. So now I will have to position this properly and carefully. So firstly, I will mark out the center line on the canvas, which is here. So as I said earlier, if your wording is getting to the center line, just trim it off. So make sure you have enough allowance here when you are stitching. Then I'll trim off this. Okay, so now I'll be positioning this like so. So I'll make sure I have up to half of an inch, or better still, you can mark your seam allowance all around the neckline, the shoulder line, and the center front line, because this must not get to the seam allowance point. So if you have excess by the side of the armhole as well, you can actually trim it off. So now I'll be pinning this as I'm aligning it together. Okay, so now I have this done. Then I'll be pinning the remaining side. So this is what I have on the right side. You can see that. So now to the lapel area, I will be marking half of an inch away from the canvas so that it will not get to the seam allowance point. So the half of an inch is the seam allowance. So make sure you position your canvas properly before doing this. So now I'm trimming off the seam allowance I marked on the canvas. Okay. So guys, now I have the padding and the front bodice pinned together, and I will be joining this together with needle and thread. So I will be applying a bast stitches like so. So you can see what I have. This is a bast stitches. A bast stitches is one of the basic hand stitches that we have. Bast stitches, cross stitches, and so on and so forth. Okay, so it's just very simple. Your needle inside and outside, in and out. So that is how you make a bast stitches. So this will hold the padding and the bodice together in place. So can you see what I have on the right side? So guys, you can see what I have after applying the bast stitches. So this is how I will continue all the way around upward, following the seam I have on the padding already. So I will be taking it all around until I exhaust all the space I have on my padding. So guys, this marks the end of this episode, as we will be meeting in the next video, where I will be taking you through the process of how to construct the short collar of a blazer jacket. Thank you once again, and always do remember, there is no elevator to success. You have to take the stairs.